schools are open for in-person instruction. Every single parent in this state has a right to send their kid to in-person instruction. We have done it the right way. We are not going to turn back. What the CDC put out 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, I wonder why they would do it then, was quite frankly a disgrace. It would require, if you actually followed that, closing 90% of schools in the United States. We have been open, they will remain open, and we are not turning back. We've been open the whole time since August. We had kids doing camps and athletics and all that over the summer. And we've been in person as much as anybody in the country. And yet, we're 34th out of 50 states in DC for COVID-19 cases on a per capita basis for children. 33 states have more cases per capita than Florida for children per capita. And many of those don't have a lot of in-person instruction in school. And so there is no evidence to suggest that school kids should do anything else other than be in school. This has been clear for months and months and months. We followed the data when we worked to get the parents the option to send the kids back, because we had looked at what happened in Europe, places like Sweden and all these other places. And it does not require another $100 billion. The school reopening plan that makes the most sense, if you want to open schools, open them. Open the door. Let them come in and let them learn. And the only reason that is not happening across this country, like it is in Florida, like it is in a handful of other states, it's one reason and one reason only. Because the Democratic Party puts the interests of education unions and special interests ahead of the well-being of our children and of our families. These kids have been out of school in parts of this country for almost a year. And if you follow that CDC guidance, they will not go back in this school year, and they may not even go back in the fall. That is a disgrace. That is not science. That is putting politics ahead of what's right for kids. That is putting politics and special interests ahead of what the evidence and observed experience says. So we're better off as a result of giving parents and kids that opportunity. I can tell you, I cannot go out without a parent coming up to me saying how much better it is that their child's able to go to school. And so we're not looking back. We're going to continue going forward.
Hear, hear. I wanted you guys to hear it right off the bat from the governor of the state of Florida. Now, I've had some comments down in other videos that say, oh, just wait, Maki, the federal government's going to do this, the federal government's going to do that. Completely wrong. Completely wrong. I'm going to read Political Divisions of the United States, Wikipedia. This is fact. The primary, first-level political division of the United States is the state. Not the country, the state. There are 50 states which are bound together in a union. Each state holds governmental jurisdiction over a defined geographic territory and shares its sovereignty with the United States federal government. That's true. But according to numerous decisions of the United States Supreme Court, the 50 individual states and the United States as a whole are each sovereign jurisdictions. The states are not administrative divisions of the country, in that their powers and responsibilities are in no way assigned to them from above by federal legislation or the Constitution. Rather, they exercise all powers of government not delegated to the federal government by the Constitution. Continuing, a couple more sentences down. The governor is both head of government and head of state. The governor is both head of government and head of state. That is fact. Now, speaking of facts, let's talk about what the governor was referring to. And we're going to use official Johns Hopkins numbers. Official numbers being reported and authorized by virtually everyone. So no make-believe stuff here. This is an article here from Fox. I will give you the link. California, Florida show similar COVID trends despite different policies. How could that be? Despite tackling the COVID-19 pandemic in vastly different ways, California and Florida have experienced similar trends with the number of cases and death rate on the decline in recent weeks. That's actually not true. We've done a lot better in death rate. California has emerged as one of the strictest states in the nation, with Governor Gavin Newsom, a Democrat, shutting down businesses and schools. His administration said it was implementing these measures based on its county's ICU capacity. Meanwhile, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, a Republican, has taken an entirely different approach. Though he took similar measures to Newsom early on in the pandemic, he eventually lifted statewide restrictions on the economy and prohibited law enforcement for fining people. The latest data from Johns Hopkins University shows California has 3.5 million COVID-19 cases in total, while Florida has reported more than 1.82 million. Florida's population is slightly more than half of California's, but even with that considered, both states have reported similar percentages of cases and deaths compared with the overall population. California's total number of COVID-19 cases as a percentage of the population is 8.8%. Florida's is about 8.3%. Now let's just unwrap that for a minute. We had a huge influx of New Yorkers early on. We have a far higher percentage of elderly people in our state, the most at risk. Yet we've remained open, they've remained locked down, and as a percentage, they've done worse. Now, out of all the people in California who have gotten COVID-19, about 1.35% have died, while in Florida it's about 1.57%. So yes, they've done better in that particular category overall. But once again, we have more elderly people, and we had more people coming here from New York early on, and that accounts for a great deal of it. The vast majority of those are down in Southeast Florida, in areas run by Democrats that remained incredibly locked down, regardless of what the governor tried to do. But this is where it gets really bad for California over the past 7 days. Over the past 7 days, and this is an article from yesterday, Florida has recorded 322 cases per million people. California, only 231 cases. But, pay attention, Florida has recorded 7.4 deaths per million people. California has recorded 10.5 deaths per million people. That is 50% more. California has recorded 50% more deaths per million people in the last 7 days than Florida. Under full Democrat lockdown. Hospitalizations. Florida, only 218 per million. California, 244. That's about 15%. So they have a 15 to 20% higher rate of hospitalization and a 50% higher rate of death in the last 7 days. See, that's where they're trying to focus on this, the variant thing. You see, cases do not always equal death. Infections don't always equal death. See, it's death and hospitalization. You see, that's what stops economies. That's what stops people. That's what causes the fear. And this is why we have stuck down on this road. Now, there's a woman out there who has attempted to kind of weasel her way into possible consideration for running against Mr. DeSantis. She kind of reminds me of the evil, maybe half stepsister of Gretchen Whitmer. Her name's Nikki Fried. Nikki Fried is the only statewide elected Democrat in Florida. Let me say that again. Nikki Fried is the only, count them, one statewide elected Democrat in Florida. People have said, McKee, aren't you afraid of all the blue voters coming down here and changing the election? Guys, I'm going to say this again. If they're coming to Florida, one of three things has to be true. Either they're conservative from those northern states that's sick of living under Democrats, which means they're going to build our conservative majority. Or perhaps they were a Democrat, but now they've changed their mind. Or perhaps they're neither. You see, that's the key here. It's not always A or B. But look at the numbers. And I would challenge everyone to go out there and look at this. Because the numbers are easy to find. Florida has been growing and growing and growing for the last 20 years. Millions of people have come here. And the more people that have come here, the more conservative we've gotten. The more our population has grown, the more conservative we've gotten because we've gotten older. Case in point, 2020 election. Trump beats Biden badly. 9 points. 7.9 points farther to the right than the rest of the country. And the actual number is about 4 to 5 percentage points. Go back to 2016. Trump beats Clinton. Not as far to the right. The two previous elections, yes, Obama won. But when you look at the trend, when you look at the trend, as Florida has, go all the way back to 2000, go all the way back to Bush Gore. Florida is getting older. Florida is becoming more and more and more conservative. Now, Nikki Fried has some issues. Nikki Fried has still not given anyone an accounting of how $166,000 just magically appeared in her checking account. I'll give you the link to The Capitalist and you can read this article about her too. But make no mistake, friends. Make no mistake. Florida is becoming more conservative. The lockdown is going to act like a prison sentence. And let's see if I can elucidate this last point properly. I wish I would have brought up some more images to talk about this, but I think it's important to make this clear. When someone goes to jail, whether they deserved to go to jail or not, once they serve their sentence, once they come back out, how they react to coming back out into civilized society is the same regardless of whether they were incarcerated justly or unjustly. There's always this backlash. There's always this, it's why there's a lot of recidivism in the prison system. It's because the lockdown is so hard that human beings are just not naturally designed for it. When the next elections come up, people are not going to elect wardens. They're not going to elect prosecutors. Because as these restrictions start to lift and things start to relax a little bit, they are going to start to remember what life was like before. And they're going to make sure they never go back under lockdown again. And they're going to put people in places of power that run on that. That is why there is going to be a huge conservative wave, even in areas that haven't been conservative before. Because people are going to say, okay, you know what? All other political considerations aside, I am now going to vote for whoever is going to keep me free. In reality, actually free. And that's going to be the only consideration. See, they can talk big game now because they're still under lockdown. Once they get a taste of freedom again, once Disney World ramps up fully, once all of these places start to lift, once things get better, people are going to start to look back. And they're going to look back clinically. And they're going to say, wait a minute. Was that all completely really necessary? I mean, I get that some of it might have been, but was it all? Should it have been left up to me? See, places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, New York, New North Korea, I've referred to it as. People are either going to leave, they're going to stay home, but they sure as heck are not going to vote for those who valued power over freedom. Cuomo, Wolf, Whitmer, Evers, the governors of the blue states. They're going to be held to account. Newsom. All these blue state governors, they are going to suffer politically for this. People aren't seeing it now, but they're going to. They're going to. It might take some time, but anyway, I will leave it there. Like, share, subscribe. God bless. We'll see you next time.